Hey, what is up, everybody? I am here to give you guys a movie review today, and today I'm going to be reviewing the movie Tom Sawyer and Huckleberry Finn. Last week I reviewed the Tom Sawyer movie that came out in 1973, and obviously I'm doing these movie reviews to kind of have like a somewhat of a conclusion from when I did the Tom Sawyer Read Aloud series this summer. So this is my way to kind of end that. So this is exactly what this video was for. And I just want to get right into it. If you want to check out my Tom Sawyer Read Aloud series and any other my Movie Monday reviews, click down on both the playlists down in the description box below. And I'm just going to get right into this. So this movie came out. It came out in the United Arabian Emirates, which is a country in the Middle East, if you don't know that. On October 23rd, 2014, but it was not released in the United States up until April 7th, 2015. That was very strange. But this movie I thought was much better than the one I reviewed last week. I thought this movie did a better job kind of painting a picture of what it was like in the book. I thought it stuck towards more the book. The things still didn't happen in order. There were some things that they put in there for the movie, but I thought this movie was much better than the one I reviewed last week. I think last week's was very raw. It wasn't exactly what I thought it was going to be at all from when I read it in the book. This movie, however, was much better. I thought the characters played each. I thought the actors were better. I thought the movie was written better, and I really enjoyed this movie more than I did last week's. I think what I enjoyed about it more was the way they kind of, presented the characters in this movie. Tom Sawyer, I'll admit, in this movie though, wasn't as much of a sneaky liar as he was in the other movie. They didn't really, and in the book, they didn't really kind of jump into that too much. And that really wasn't as much of a focus. That's one thing I'll admit that this movie does run, is that they don't really focus on character development. They don't really go into detail about Tom Sawyer's character. They do it actually more to Huckleberry Finn than they do with Tom Sawyer. I kind of didn't really like that too much. What I liked that this movie actually did do though was the incorporation, was the way they included Mark Twain in this movie. I thought that was very well done. Pretty much what they had happen was they had these little kids that were probably supposed to be his grandkids, and they came in and asked him, because they had like a headline, they found like an old newspaper of his own steamboats, and he pretty much would use that to kind of tell this story, because he talked about how he used to ride them and stuff. It's kind of weird. He was supposed to talk about why he used them though, and he went on talking about this, and it had nothing to do with him. So, I mean, it sort of did, but, like, he wasn't involved in it at all. So, it kind of, like, it didn't really have anything to do with the steamboats as much as it should have. Something that they jumped right into in this movie was they pretty much just dove right into the scene where Injun Joe murders Doc Robinson. They just dove right into it pretty much. It was about the second scene of the movie. It was pretty much right in the beginning. I didn't mind that too much, actually. It opened up the movie in a big way, and I thought it was a nice way to introduce the movie. I thought it was actually pretty cool, and that was actually why Tom Sawyer got stuck painting the picket fence. I don't remember exactly why he does in the book. I think it was because he skipped school. That's something that they kept the same in the other movie, and I like that they left that scene in there. I think the scene was done a little bit better in the other movie than it was in this movie though, because in the other movie they had like the musical scene to it, and I thought that added extra effect to it. In this movie they still went there, but it wasn't done as well. I was actually worried they were gonna leave that scene out, and I'm glad they didn't. So I thought that was pretty cool. What else did they leave in this scene? Leave in this movie. So that was, yeah, so they have, the movie kicks off. They have Tom Sawyer, Huckleberry Finn together, and then they're doing their normal thing, skipping school and stuff. Tom Sawyer, we see a little bit of Becky Thatcher in the beginning of the movie. That's one thing that was different. She's not introduced into this movie until much later. And then they kind of dive right into the scene where they're gonna go bury the cat to get rid of warts. And then obviously they do the whole scene where Injun Joe murders Doc Robertson. I thought that was very well done in this movie. I thought Injun Joe was played by a much better character. The guy who played him in the last movie, though, did a pretty good job as well. And then and then I also liked, like I said, the picket fence scene I liked still. And then obviously one thing that was different was Tom Sawyer had felt guilty about that Muff Potter had gotten blamed for it. Because one thing they kept the same was when they were about to hang Muff Potter, someone came and said he deserved a fair trial. That was something that was the same. I thought that was great. And then they obviously had the same thing where Tom Sawyer and Huckleberry Finn kept their pack up, where they weren't going to say anything about it. And then obviously the one thing that was different was they actually tried to break Muff Potter out of prison. They dug a hole right into his cell, and they were just gonna come back in the morning for him. I thought that was actually a really good scene. And when they go back in the morning for him, he's already been gone and disappeared. So everybody goes and finds him, and he actually thinks that Injun Joe did it. And he's gonna have his trial and everything. And then Tom Sawyer and Huckleberry Finn, they kept the scene the same, where Tom Sawyer went and then they were giving him stuff like smokes and stuff like that. They kept that the same. I thought that was really cool. And then as they were doing the trial and they were asking him questions and stuff, they ended up calling Tom Sawyer to the stand. Now, in the other movie, he actually just willingly goes up himself. In this movie, I thought it was done much better. It was exactly like how they did it in the book, where they came up and asked him questions and everything. The lawyer, I thought, was kind of being a little bit of a dickhead, but and obviously this is when Injun Joe throws the knife and takes off, which I thought was done very well in this movie. It was, I thought it was worked better. And then Tom Sawyer, and Huckleberry Finn actually run away because of this. And throughout this movie, Mark Twain is telling the story like I talked about, so there's certain things that he says happens that we don't actually get to see. But I thought the person who played Mark Twain sounded exactly like him. I'm not sure how they got him to sound like that. He kind of looked like Albert Einstein, though, and like, if I forget his name, but the KFC chicken guy, in a sense. That's what I kind of was thinking, because he was wearing all white and everything. And yeah. So then obviously Tom and Huckleberry Finn went away. The thing that was different was that they go on this like ship on the shipwreck, and Tom Sawyer and Huckleberry Finn hear somebody talking down in the ship, and then Tom Sawyer's about to leave, and there was really rainy, so a bunch of water knocks him down to the bottom of the ship, and he sees that the old stallion, or whatever his name was, the old man, the mystery guy that we never found out his name, and Injun Joe had Muff Potter tied up like they were going to drown him. I thought that was done very well. Then obviously Tom Sawyer and Huckleberry Finn go to that island like they did in the book. They didn't have Joe Harper again this time, so I thought that was kind of stupid. They left his character out again. It was kind of a shame. And then obviously Tom Sawyer, we don't actually get to see him sneak back this time. They just tell you, Mark Twain just tells you what happens. I guess it was something we didn't really need to see. So then they go back after the funeral and everything. And yeah, then we didn't really get to see a lot of Aunt Polly in this movie, as we did in the last movie. But I think in the book, she really wasn't seen all that much. Like, we didn't really hear much about her in the book. She was in the movie, but she didn't have, like, as big of a role as they had her have in the other movie. And in this movie, she didn't really have that big of a role. She had about the same level of role she did in the book. Another character they left out, though, was Mary. They kept Sid's character, but they completely left out Mary's character. She really wasn't that much. She wasn't really that much of a factor in the book, so not really gonna complain about it. Then obviously what happens is they do the whole scene. When Tom and Huck come back after their funeral, Becky Thatcher ended up just bitch slapping him right in the face, which I thought was awesome. And then they do the whole scene where they get engaged. What was kind of weird about this, though, was the actors in this movie. This movie came out in 2014, and some of the actors I had recognized from watching Nickelodeon and Disney Channel shows. And clearly we know they weren't. In the book, they're supposed to be like 9. Clearly in the movie, they tried to make it seem that way, but we obviously know that wasn't the case. They were probably like 15, 16-ish. So that was kind of stupid. And then, yeah, I think that was different. But they kind of kept the treasure hunt scene in there. They didn't completely leave it in there. They didn't really have the scene, have like a scene where they were actually looking for the treasure. Pretty much what happened was, the way they were able to get to that point was Huckleberry Finn just said he was staying in the haunted house, but obviously in the book he actually wasn't staying in the haunted house. He was, they just went there to go find the treasure. That was something that was different from the book. And then they go, when they go to the haunted house, this is when Inja and Joe and the mystery guy comes in, whose name we never found out. And this is when we find out about the treasure, and they find like $1,000 in there. And you know, Tom and Huckleberry Finn feels like that it's theirs. And you know, they go to find it. They kept the scene in there where Tom Sawyer went to go in the haunted house, but then Joe almost found him. I thought that was very well done. They also kept the scene where they go in the caves when Tom and Sawyer and Becky Thatcher get trapped in there. They did have it in the other movie. I'll give them that. But in this movie, it was actually done much better. I don't think they tried to make it seem like it was like a class trip. Now in the book, I don't remember exactly if it was a class trip or if it was just one of Becky Thatcher's parties. I think it was a Becky Thatcher party that they had. So yeah. And they kept the scene in there where Tom Sawyer and Becky Thatcher get lost with the group, and they actually did a very good job keeping that exactly the same from the book. You know, Tom Sawyer and Becky Thatcher are trying to get out. Nobody can find them. They pretty much show the crowd looking for them, and I thought they kept that. I thought they did a very good job keeping that the same from the book. And I really enjoyed that, actually. Because in the movie, I liked the way they did it and everything. That they had to be an action scene and Ninja and Joe caused them to get stuck in the cave. But I thought in the book, I thought in the book they had done it much better. And I'm glad they used this movie to kind of show that. Because it was done exactly the way I had pictured it. And obviously they had the scene with Ninja and Joe. Now in the book, he doesn't. When Tom Sawyer goes to see him, Ninja and Joe doesn't actually see him. Tom Sawyer just gets scared and runs off. In the movie, they wanted, I think, to make like an action scene where Ninja and Joe chases Tom Sawyer, so obviously that made sense. But then they get out. Then Tom Sawyer and Huck go back for the treasure, which is exactly like the movie. Well, no, not the movie, the book. And they actually had a confrontation with Ninja and Joe. Ninja and Joe was going to just shoot them. I thought that was very well done, actually. I really liked that scene. He was about to shoot Tom, and then Huckleberry Finn shot him with a slingshot, and they ran off. And then they kept the scene where Judge Thatcher locked the door up. So, and then obviously, Ninja and Joe ended up dying because he was trapped in the cave. They actually did a scene earlier where we thought Ninja and Joe had died, but he didn't. Obviously that was different in both movies. Tom Sawyer and Ninja and Joe actually had like an altercation with each other. In the book, they don't really have much of an altercation. It's pretty much just in that court scene, and then that's pretty much it. Ninja and Joe never actually he attempts to get revenge, but they never really seen anything more of each other. Then obviously they have the scene where we didn't really see Widow Douglas in this movie. They just tell us that Widow Douglas adopted Huckleberry Finn, but it doesn't actually happen. But they don't actually go into it. Like in the other movie, she was pretty much a main character. In the book, she doesn't come in till the end. They completely left out the scene where In Jun Jo and his mystery guy was just gonna, obviously go in there and rape Widow Douglas. Probably they wanted to keep it out because this was supposed to be kind of like a kids movie, so I think they didn't want to have that in the movie, I guess, even though they had it in the book. Then the movie, ends off with Tom Sawyer and his family leaving on vacation, and I think this movie is at this movie. I heard this is actually in the book. They actually kind of go into Huckleberry Finn's beginning, where he ends up leaving Widow Douglas with his slave. I forget his name, and they were gonna go off and go to the free country, but then they messed up and went to the slave countries by accident. It was a big mess, and Huckleberry Finn had given Tom Sawyer his slingshot. And when Mark Twain opens his chest, he sees that it was a slingshot, and they say that they never saw each other again. And then that was like the end of the movie, pretty much. There's other stuff that happened, but that was pretty much like the entire movie. I don't really want to go into full detail because I don't want to feel like I wasted my time reading the book. You can check out my Read Aloud series to kind of know like what really fully happens in this book / movie, or you can check out my last movie Monday review series. But overall, I thought this movie was much better than the last one, mainly because I thought this one stuck to the book a lot better. Like not a lot of the same stuff happens in the order as it did in the book, but I'm actually okay with the fact that they included some stuff. And I thought they kept a lot more stuff the same in this movie than they did in the last movie. A lot of the stuff was presented better. So overall, I really enjoyed this movie. I thought it was much better than the last one. If I had to give it, if I had to grade it out of 10, I thought it was actually really good. So I graded a 8 out of 10. I thought this movie was really good. I thought the actors played their roles very well, and I thought the story had they kept to the book. The plot was simple to follow, and yeah, they kept a lot of things the same. Because I didn't really what I didn't care about the last movie was how different it was from the book, that it was a musical and stuff. This movie I thought was much better. And now that I've kind of gone through the movie, the one thing I didn't really like too was there wasn't a lot of character development with Tom Sawyer. It was more Huckleberry Finn. Like Tom Sawyer got some character development, but they didn't really kind of dive into that as much as they should have. So it is what it is there. But let me kind of go through the actors that from this movie, the cast, and I'll kind of talk about maybe too. Maybe I'll kind of go through. I can't really go through how the movie did because it doesn't really say. But yeah, Tom Sawyer was played by Joe Courtney. I thought he did a very good job as Tom Sawyer. Huckleberry Finn was played by Jake T. Austin. He was obviously from Wizards of Waverly Place. He was Max Russo from there. I thought he played Huckleberry Finn pretty well, actually. He really fit the role. Catherine McNamara played Becky Thatcher. I think I've seen her somewhere before, but I don't remember where. Val Kimmer played Mark Twain. I thought he did a very good job playing Mark Twain. It actually made you feel like it was actually him, so I thought that was really cool. Christine Kaufman played Aunt Polly. I've seen her in other places before. Carolyn Voden Chalf, I don't know how to say it. It's a Russian name. Played Injun Joe. Miles Malsodine played Jim, and Dan Van Heusen played Wendy. And Dan Van Heusen, this is Wendy. If you don't know who he is, this guy is the first guy that comes up to Tom Sawyer when he's painting the fence, and he tricks him to have him paint the fence. And he obviously has been in some other stuff. He was Gibby from iCarly back in Nickelodeon. And he did a pretty good job in his role. He didn't have a very big role, but I'm glad he was in here. I had a lot of this movie, like I said, I thought had a better cast than the first one did, because I thought they played the roles of these characters better. And this is pretty much it, guys. I don't think I'll be talking about Tom Sawyer anymore really on this channel, unless I read another one of his books that has to do with him. The Huckleberry Finn book I probably will read at some point in the future. Not going to be doing any read aloud series for a while, just because of school and things that will probably be coming back in December. Yeah, I've already decided which book I'm going to be reading for that, so make sure you guys tune into that. I will announce it when I get closer to that time. But overall, that's pretty much my thoughts on the movie. You guys can leave your thoughts and comments on this movie down below, and please make sure you guys like, comment, and share this video so people will watch it. Make sure you guys subscribe to my CM Brothers YouTube channel, because I post videos on there as well. Make sure you click on the bell so that way every time you upload a video on that channel, you guys will get the notification for it. Please make sure you guys do the same thing for this channel. Subscribe and click on the bell so that way every time I upload a video on this channel, you guys will get the notification for it, because I will be doing Movie Monday reviews every Monday. And that's pretty much it, guys. Talk to you later.